Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So we're in this special period of valuing time, counting. Because time is life.
Time exists in
If we
mind.
use it.
Time exists in
If
mind.
we abuse it, then time is referred to in the Chumash. See, I said before you today, את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע. אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם היום. Each day we're given a new power of life if we use it. So Avraham Avinu is called the person who is Baba Yamim, used every day. He made progress day by day, which is a high level to reach. Let us hope all of us also will be able to be Oret Yamin, have Arichut Yamim, which means the day should be filled up with purposeful living. And as we explained yesterday, from the words of the Chinuch, which I'll give out to you here, whoever doesn't have it, that the root of the mitzvah of counting from the exodus from Egypt to receiving the Torah is to explain to us that we were redeemed from enslavement in order to reach the level of receiving the Torah, which is also the first verse of the Ten Commandments of the Decalogue. Also, I am Hashem, who took you out from Egypt. It means to recognize Hashem as a guide of history of people of Israel, history of the world, history of each one of us. So that's why, to continue the last paragraph on the page where I've distributed, on account of this, Kihi kol ikaran shel Yisrael, since the whole purpose of the people of Israel is that we should be the bearers of the wisdom and the will of our Creator, because of this the people were redeemed, and we reached that high level. That's why we've been commanded to count the days from the morrow of the Yom Tov of Pesach until the day when the Torah was given. In order to demonstrate with our soul and even with our words the enormous desire to reach that great event when Hashem revealed His will to 3 million of our people. Not like a religion which was witnessed by one person who says he had revelations, showed him that he should become the leader. This is a revelation given to 3 million of the people. And then he becomes like an Eved Ish Avtzel. It's like a servant or slave who's hunting to get protection and to be released from his enslavement. V'yimne tamid, and he counts constantly. When is that desirable time going to come when I'll be free? Because this is what counting represents. I want to reach that high level. I'll give you another illustration of this, parallel to the what the Chinuch brings here, let us say a person, he becomes engaged, a couple will become engaged, and the wedding is fixed for 2 months' time. Then I think there are many couples, the bride and the bridegroom, they count the days. They say, oh, it's another 2 months, another 1 month, another week. Oh, it's only 1 more day. So as you go along, I'm more and more excited. It's that which creates romance, anticipation. Anticipating the day where they can really feel one and celebrate the enormous joy of getting married and finding one's soulmate. And as it's described in the Chumash already, developed also in the Midrashim, the Zohar, that the man and the woman really are half a soul each, are finding the right one. So the non-Jews call it, unfortunately, falling in love. We call it rising in love. You rise to a higher level of true love, which means giving oneself over to someone else. So how do we count the days? We start with 49 and finish with 1. So my question is, it's his question as well, why do we start with 1 day and finish with 49? So that's my question to you. Anyone wants to give an answer? Why is the counting reversed?
Yeah. Because it's a building up to something. It's not.
But when you get married, you also build up to something.
True.
See, that's how you count the days also.
You're not complete.
You start with 1.
You're not complete when you engage. You're mature. You've reached that stage of maturity. But when you're doing the Yom, you're not complete spiritually, and you have to build yourself up. Whereas when you engage, hopefully, you reach that level of maturity, you pass 50 steps or whatever. So that's where the excitement is.
Because you have to go up in holiness, not down.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think yes. Any other answers to this question? He asked himself. He said, why do we count to the Omer? The Omer, which is animal fodder, it's to teach us so we did have passed from the full number. So why do we count Elon and one why do we do the other way around? We should start with we've got 49 days left, 48 days left. Because the Mare Bana Ratzone Chazak Legilas Man. So he wants to answer like this. It's Chinuch's answer. Different yours. He says that this shows the strong desire we have to reach that time. But we know we've already explained that a person who is freed from enslavement, but is a free person, but he has not introduced true liberty. Because liberty means a higher level of spirituality. If you just say free to do whatever you want, then often the animal instincts take over. That's the level of the barley fodder, which is brought as an offering in the temple on Pesach. Then on Shavuot, when we receive the Torah, we have a wheat offering. Wheat is human food. You become a true human being who uses the freedom for a high purpose, to become God's people in this instance, to reach a spiritual fulfillment. So he says, we don't want to mention a large number of days at the beginning because person is too large a number. So it makes the person feel, oh, it's going to take so long. We want to have that time as soon as possible. Therefore, let's count in such a way to demonstrate that too many days will bring us a certain amount of despair that we're not really up to it. That seems to be his answer. I think the answer that you gave, some of you gave now, is a much deeper one on the surface. We'll go into what the Chinuch says a bit more deeply soon. But the answer you give, I think, is a very correct aspect. And let's go back to what applies to many of us around here, what has applied to some of us. The most exciting period in a person's life is, most romantic period, is from engagement to marriage. And this is a parable used in the Midrashim also, because Hashem became engaged to the people of Israel when he took us out from Egypt, but he actually married us, as it were, with the giving of the Torah. And there's a very close connection with this, because the customs that we have at a Jewish wedding is a chuppah. You know what they're based on, some of the surrounding customs. Why is it that, to give an example, why do the people who take the young couple to the chuppah, they hold lights, candles? Why is that done? Then if you know where did it come from, such a custom. It comes from the giving of the Torah. When the Torah was given, so was lightning. That represents the lightning. They say that the people who accompany the chos and kala to meet one another, meet the parents, respective parents, the shush banim, that also goes back to giving the Torah, because Hashem gave most of the Torah to the people of Israel through Moshe and Aaron, who helped to create the bond between the people of Israel and Hashem. The ketuvah, which the Chatan gives the Kala, is, as it were, a symbolic representative of the way in which, to strengthen the bond between Hashem and the people of Israel, he gave us the Torah. First the tablets of stone, afterwards the Sefer Torah. So many of the customs of the giving of the Torah, even what is described by the sage, the Kafalim HaGigit, when the Torah was given, Hashem took the mountain and he covered over the people of Israel like a barrel. He said, if you accept the Torah, fine, and if not, you're going to be buried here. In other words, the chuppah, the concept of chuppah is also the chuppah which covers the canopy, which covers the chatan and kala, is like the mountain which they held over the people. That means that mountain held over the people, it held the glory of the divine presence. It was the highest level. But if you don't keep the covenant, once we've accepted, as we did, we accept to keep the Torah, if you don't keep the covenant, then you're going to have a lot of troubles, and you'll almost be buried down in the earth. And the same applies when you get married. You know, some people say that, at the end of the chuppah, what does the chatan do?
Breaks the glass.
What's he do? He breaks the glass. He puts his foot on the glass, some say, because the last time in his life he can put his foot down. In other words, if you want to be successful in marriage, don't try to put your foot down too much. Deal with it in a positive manner. But the other explanation, also a symbolic explanation, is that marriage is fragile. It's a fantastic level to reach if you find the right zibul. So I hope every one of you who haven't had it yet will find it soon. And it's one of the greatest experiences in life, because it's in fact, I want you now on the basis to answer the following question. We make 7 blessings. and what's the second blessing? Any of you know? The real second blessing, the Sheva Brachot? Hashem created everything is honor. The next one is Yotzer HaAdam, that Hashem created man. The ending of the next blessing is the same. Yotzer Ha'adam. What's the difference? The third blessing is Hashem created man as male and female. He created them in His image, and He created both of them in His image. That means the image of Hashem is only full through Adam and his soulmate together, the Chad Gufa. They become like one body, as it says in the Chumash, and one soul. So it's really a transformation of the personality. When you're still, there's no such thing from the Torah, single blessedness. Blessedness comes through uniting, finding not the same, it's Eza Connector. It is a help from the opposite of person. Marriage is not the unity of two clones, the same, one and the other. No, we're very different. We're physically different, emotionally different. One of the today is well known, most popular book in this respect in the general world is that men come from Mars and women come from Venus. But the idea is that really this is very basic to understand the whole of the Torah. The Torah believes in different roles to men and women, and that there's many mitzvot also. They give direction how to perfect those roles, but to become complete, you've got to have Eza Connect. You need someone who can look at this from an opposite angle. But then you've got to learn how to complement one another. So this is the concept of the chuppah, and so many of the customs of the chuppah come from the giving of the Torah. So therefore it's a good situation. So you've quite rightly said, how would you count from the engagement when you can't really be properly together yet, and the marriage? So normally you'd say you count, you often count, they count, and there's another 49 days, 48 days, you don't count until you come very near to the time, get more and more anticipation. But the Sfirat Omer is the other way around. So you said correctly that because there's another aspect to it, which also has to be applied to Chatan and Kala. Because let's say you're pretty much of a beginner in Torah, and you and also the girl you get engaged to is in a similar situation. Then, well, sometimes you say, well, let's get married quickly. Why should we wait so long? So it's quite true that people do have to wait because they've got to make all the external arrangements. So you've got to wait, you've got no choice. You can't really find a proper hall to have the wedding or to have to rent an apartment. It needs arrangements, so you've got to make all the external arrangements. That you're going to do building up bit by bit. The person can't say, let's go and get married. So I've been connected with such couples that say, oh, we want to get married next week. It's so simple, got a lot to do. But also on the spiritual angle, you have a lot to do because you've got to prepare yourself. We advise every young couple to have someone to teach you all the dinim, all the laws that the Torah gives us concerning the relationship between man and woman in marriage. So you have to prepare for it. If you don't know, you can go the wrong way, even in not fulfilling the mitzvot correctly. You've got to build up a home which should be kosher, so you learn all. It's not enough to learn all the laws that have to do with family purity. You also have to learn the laws concerning how to have a kosher home. And then you need something else. You need hadracha. You often need guidance. So you also madrichim who teach a guy and a girl how to treat one another and how to develop the best relationships. And if you haven't learned that beforehand, you're likely to go the wrong way. And therefore there you've got to build up one after the other. So I think you gave a very good answer. Maybe before we go on now to understand what the chinuch is saying, maybe you've got a few questions connected with this or connected with what we said in the previous shul. Anyone wants to ask any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. It just came to me as
Yes.
important.
in terms of counting the Omer from the bottom. I heard this was beautiful, that we were on the 49th level of Tuma in Egypt, and I think it was a big part of it was our names, our dress, and our language combined with the gift that Hashem gave us, the patriarchs,
Yeah.
with the merit that He brought us out. As a Baal Tshuva, I'm very guilty of trying to bring the Torah down to a level where I can attain it. It's been made very clear to me by many great men that you have to bring yourself up to the level of the Torah. So counting from one, like a child or a baby being born, up to a grown man at 49 seems a lot more appropriate.
Yeah, very good. Anyone else wants to ask a question, make a comment?
Yes, God, we talked about the number 7, let the number 7. So in a marriage at the chuppah, the bride has to walk around the room 7 times. So you're 7 weeks, 7 times 7. What's the significance of that particular ceremony, the 7?
Look, the basic concept of the kala going around the chatan is to express the message that in the area of relationships with the opposite sex, so young men have very severe tests, not easy ones to face, to keep not just their actions but also their feelings and their desires to channel them correctly and not to be led astray. We know today, there are, in all the mass media, there's enormous amount of pornography. And pornography is extremely destructive of the purity of a person's motivations in every way. It's also destructive that addiction to pornography can ruin a person's character altogether, like other addictions. And it's some say a natural addiction, so you've got to learn how to control it. It's mentioned in the Chumash, you shouldn't go after stray after your eyes. So what is represented here, that marriage is the right ideal fulfillment of using those instincts that Hashem has given us for a productive purpose and not a destructive one. That's the idea behind it. So who gives the protection? A wife, a kala, a bride can give protection to the man, that he should be able to channel all his desires that are put into him naturally for the purpose of becoming creative and productive. To become productive even physically, to be able to help to bring a family into the world and to have a continuation from children and grandchildren, which comes from marriage. And even more that, because there's no question that the sexual drive is also the source, or closely connected, with all the creative powers of every person. And if that drive is used in the right manner, a person can become creative in many different areas. You give them talents, Hashem gives each person talents. Some people have talents in being able to do a lot of loving kindness to others. Others have talent in organization, others have musical talent, intellectual talent. It's well known that the libido has a great deal to do with this. The libido is the life force inside us. And that life force should be used only for good things and not for destructive things. This is the basic principle of using marriage and understanding marriage to be the real fulfillment for the creativity of man and woman. And in this, it's the ideal situation, that's the great joy that exists in marriage, is that it gives an opportunity to transform the deeper instincts within the human being into productivity. So that's the idea of the color going round. Why 7 times? 7 is the concept of producing harmony and completion. That's the basic concept in so many mitzvot of the Torah. So this is an important. It's also a bit connected with what Shua mentioned before, which speak about the 49 gates of impurity in which the people of Israel were sunk, and which many of us are sunk also in our single lives, often happens, get sunk in it. So how do you become released from it? By procedures of purification. Now, technically speaking, there are 7 types of impurity which are mentioned in the Chumash, where to become pure you've got to count 7 days. So you could say that the people of Israel, we were contaminated with all different forms of impurity in Egypt. And many of us also in our lives were contaminated by different types of impurities. And how do you release yourself of impurities? By recognizing that you can transform them. And most of these impurities, you can remove them by counting 7 days. That means by trying to make them harmonious instead of destructive. That's the idea of the 7. It's the whole idea of the Shabbat as well. The time flies. We've got to use the time to bring the awareness of Hashem, who's introduced harmony into the universe, into our lives as well. And that's the basic significance of the 7 times, which is so frequent in every aspect of Torah life. Any other questions? Yes?
Is there ever in the Torah description or in the Torah Shabbat Peh, description of what these 49 gates of impurity are? Like what each one is, like a name for each one, or...
You know what each one is?
Yeah.
Well, let's see who. Let's try. You tell me. Can you tell me? I mean, you should know there are complex laws of purity and impurity. There's a whole section of the Mishnah called Taharot, which deals with details of things that are impure and how to make them pure. But perhaps some of you can tell me from what you know from the Chumash, which types of impurity are there where you need 7 days to become pure.
Tamei Meis.
Done?
Tamei Meis.
Tamei Meis is really the most severe. It's called the grandfather of Tumah.
Nida?
So, but just I don't really understand what that means. If you have contact with the dead body, then it brings up impurity, which can only be removed through the ashes of the red heifer, the red cow, and that's one of those things that are stopping us from being able to bring any offerings to the Temple Mount, because all of us have that connection with someone who's died in one way or another, and the only way you can get purification is through the special service of mixing the ashes of a cow that's completely red and mixing them with living water from a fountain that we sprinkle in a special way, mentioned the Chumash. That's why these days everyone is searching for such a red cow. And in fact, people think, well, if you have a couple of years ago, there was someone who was breeding cows, and he found a cow which fitted him. It's entirely only red hair. It didn't have one single black or white hair on its body. It was in Lakewood farmer. And people said, oh, very good. But they had to keep the rabbis of Lakewood, who were great Talmudic scholars, they supervised it and made sure. First, they didn't want it to become known at all, and because there's so many laws that surrounded keeping this cow from doing any type of work. If it does any type of work, it's not suitable. Anyway, if you want to understand the symbolism behind this, you'll have to turn to a commentary like that of Rav Hirsch, which you've got here in English. So he goes into detail. What's the symbolism of this? I want to state just in principle the symbolism of the greatest impurity being a death is a deep concept. I mean, there's one of the greatest experts, I would say, on the power of the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, in modern times, has been Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud subconsciously, as it showed him in his later years by some of his disciples, he had certain deeper concepts which he came about through his high level of investigation into the human psyche, into the soul of man. So he made a thorough study of the libido. But he himself says the two strongest powers in the human being, use Greek terms, eros and thanatos. Eros is the power of love and life. Thanatos is the power of death. And he said, in a subconscious manner, and the truth is very interesting, but the subconscious concept lies very deep in very early Torah sources. So he analyzed deeply, but his way worked out in psychology because he was still influenced a lot by modernistic ideas that really man is not a free being, not free. He didn't believe in freedom, and he believed in like natural development of the human being, even if his intellect is too much influenced by that. But he was a pretty big expert in the power of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Tov he did not recognize. The Yetzer Tov means human beings he's been given a conscience. He's been given a power of virtue. So it's very interesting. One of his early disciples was also a Viennese psychiatrist and psychologist. It's called Viktor Frankl. And this Viktor Frankl, he became a student of Freudian psychoanalyst before the war. But then he went to Auschwitz, and he came to Auschwitz, and he changed his view entirely. Because he came to the conclusion, it's a fascinating description which he gives of the situation, that he recognized that the basic aspect of human being is first of all to find meaning. So he invented what's called, today it's called logotherapy. But he went much further. Because in his later books he developed the concept of moral psychology on the highest level. And he also gave out a book called The Unconscious God, which is on the lines of the deeper understanding of the human soul according to Torah. I've had email correspondence with him, and I pointed out to him some of the ideas he puts forward in his later books, The Unconscious God. They reflect very much the analysis given by the great Torah thinker called the Maharal Prague. So in fact, he wrote back to me, he in fact traces descent from the Maharal Prague. And the concept is that he says the conscience, which Freud to some extent didn't accept it. He didn't accept the fact that a person can be free and has got a conscience. And that conscience can change his whole attitude to life, and also to how to solve problems, how to transform the complexes that exist in the human psyche and transform them into a way that the inner power of the human beings are used for good. So he showed it as a different way. So all I'm saying in this stage is that in marriage, the person can learn how to develop his instincts of the Yetzer Hara and use them for purposes the Yetzer Tov, which is contained in our daily prayer. Please Hashem, help us that our Yetzer would be able to become your servant. When we say V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol vovcha, the sages say you should love Hashem with your whole heart. Levav, sometimes it's leiv and sometimes levav. Leiv is the unified heart, levav is the double heart. Because we've got the double heart. We've got a heart which tends to go according to animal instincts, and we've got a heart that tends to go to our divine instincts. So we've got to try to love Hashem with both. You have to learn to love Hashem even with your materialistic instincts. That's the height of love. And how can you do that? That can come about through marriage. And when you're not yet married, to have in mind that the more that you learn to discipline the power of the Yetzer Hara, to become transformed through dedication of Yetzer Hara Tov before marriage, the more you'll experience not just the spiritual pleasure of marriage and the emotional, but even the physical aspect of marriage becomes much more fulfilling when you recognize that the physical can be used as a means to build up the highest level of closeness to the Yetzer Hatov, sublimating the Yetzer Hara. Okay. So, any more questions or comments? I'll be very welcome for tomorrow.
I have a comment.